All right, let's get into our next film. I started this film, Will.
Sure.
I was about 15, 20 minutes in, and I
Sure.
stopped. I did not finish this film.
You
and that
weren't
film,
bedazzled by that Apple whatever opening credit scene?
no, not even a little. So this
Yeah.
film is called Magic Camp, and I tried, but I could not. I stopped around the time when we get to the Magic Camp, the Institute of Magic,
It's Institute of Magic,
and we start meeting the kids.
Yeah.
And I just sort of was like, oh no, this is a Disney Channel original movie, not made for my generation, that is kind of masquerading as a Disney Plus exclusive.
Well, not that, like it was, I think it was going to go to theaters originally.
Sure. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. It certainly is trying to appeal to a wide audience. But this is the new sort of family comedy, I suppose, directed by Mark Waters. And
it is a comedy. I mean, it may not be a good one, but it is a comedy.
Well, it's a family. I don't know. I'm trying to make sure I'm saying family comedy in a way.
Yeah, it's a family comedy.
It's more the family modifier. But yeah, so I just don't know how much, whole families will get into this unless they have, much younger kids. I think like the age group of the kids in this film, most of them are going to look at this and be like, no, thanks. Like, this is for babies. Like, that's the kind of reaction I think I would have had. I'm kidding though. I probably still would have watched it. That said, I think the main appeal of this movie is the two central lead actors, Adam Devine and Gillian Jacobs. There is the unfortunate inclusion of Jeffrey Tambor, who is somebody who has, has some issues, some abuse allegations and things that we don't have to get into. But I agree with you, Will. We were kind of discussing this last week. It is a bit jarring to see him pop up in here. I had a hard time with that, just because I think that's it's just strange seeing him in his capacity right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So this movie, I don't know if you said, but yeah, it was filmed in 2017. And if you're wondering to yourself, hey, I've never heard of this movie, what is this movie? It's because Disney has done basically everything in its power to bury it, to the point where I believe the first trailer and the first poster for the movie came out a whopping 4 days before it hit the streaming service, which if that's not a sign that Disney just does not care, then watch the opening credit sequence, which was made on like Apple Movie or something, or
iMovie.
Whatever. iMovie. Yeah, and I mean, Corey Woodruff and I, friend of the show, were like, we could do this. Like, we could make, if we tried hard enough, we could make the intro to this movie, which just goes to show you that the movie really put like no real effort as far as the studio is concerned into marketing or trying to get this movie out to a wide audience.
It was supposed to come out in April 2018. And then it got delayed, and then eventually Christopher Robin took its slot. So yeah, it's been on the shelf for a while.
Yeah, and I was just more curious. I mean, the main reason I was curious is because I guess at one point, maybe I guess early on, if he pitched it, Steve Martin was involved with this film. I guess he came up with the idea, or like came up with like some sort of idea for it, pitched at Disney, but he is not credited, not even for like a story credit. So I'm guessing like his idea might have been a little bit weirder, or maybe a little bit more like idiosyncratic than what Disney had in mind for this. And they just kind of like went through the trials, because there's like 5 screenwriters involved with this film, and all of them, like I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but they're like writers from like Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, How I Met Your Mother. I think Henry Winkler's son is in this. Wrote it. I mean, the guy who wrote Ingrid Goes West. So it's like a lot of talented.
They wrote different drafts of it after the original draft by Steve Martin.
Yeah, and I think you can kind of tell, because it's one of those movies where it just feels like you said, this is like the type of Disney film that would have been made maybe in like 2003. It's like kind of more modest in its approach, very character based, just kind of based on a concept, but it just follows a very formulaic execution or standpoint or concept. And that's, I mean, I think it's a funny idea. Like, it's a cute idea for a movie, but Disney just goes through like the most fairly mediocre way of going about it, to the point where there's really not much to this that's, I think, really rewarding or investing. And I don't think Disney buried it because it's like exceptionally bad. I think they primarily buried it because Jeffrey Tambor was involved with it pretty prominently in a way that like they couldn't edit him out. Like they could maybe reshot it, but I don't think they care enough. So they sort of just like, yeah, let's bury it. But even if it did, even if the allegations didn't come out, like I think this would have just been a Disney Plus exclusive, because I don't see a way that Disney could have made their money back on this. Like, it doesn't really have like a catchy premise, but it is a cute one. But the execution of it just kind of settles for, like you said, like a fairly Disney Plus or Disney Channel style. Like, it just, has your typical like stubborn protagonist who learns to, accept the kids and then finds himself in the process. It's very much what you expect. But I do think if the movie did one critical thing, this might have worked. And that's, I think, if they switched the lead actors. Like if Gillian Jacobs was like the kind of up and coming magician who like had a falling out, wasn't really sure where to go in life, and then she got roped into magic camp and then kind of found herself with the kids along the way. I think she's a lot more versatile and dynamic as an actress, that she could have sold this performance, while Devine plays the kind of more like hotshot magician type who's like, kind of selling out Vegas and stuff and has like an ego.
That's
like
more
I
his
think
wheelhouse is like
right,
the
I think,
confidence and the swagger that is kind of goofy.
And I don't hate Adam Devine. Like I think he's fine. Like I don't think he's a bad person or anything, but more and more times I see him in movies, I also think he's a leading man. Like I just don't get the sense that he's like dynamic enough as a performer. I don't think he's versatile enough. Like I think he's kind of one note as a performer. And I think that's fine for like an ensemble like Workaholics, where he's like playing with a group. Or even like Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, which isn't a great movie, but he kind of works better off of like Zac Efron and stuff like that. When he's like in a movie like this, where he's like kind of like C grade Jack Black, like it just doesn't work. Like he just doesn't that interesting performer. Like he's not that funny. Like he's more amusing at best than anything. And I just don't think it works. So for me, it's a very much a like just C type film. Like for me, this is like a C streaming exclusive in that it's not terrible. Like it has charm to it. The kids are nice, and it's like it's not a movie you get mad about. It just doesn't really do anything special or unique. It just kind of follows the tropes. And if you like that type of thing, it's not the worst thing out there. But I have seen it maybe less than 2 days ago, and I've forgotten most of it by now. So I can't imagine I'm going to remember it in a week or two. So I think a pretty low C is where I stand on it overall.
I think, you mentioned that it probably would have made its money back. It was a low budget, 24 million.
I mean, would it have made its money?
I mean, it would have made it, but it wouldn't have been a big moneymaker. It probably would have made a little bit over its budget. Yeah. That's about it. And then, you can tell they didn't want to put the marketing costs in, because that would have put them even deeper into the hole. Mm-hmm. So I think Disney Plus is probably the best avenue or the best home for something like this, even though I do think the premise is kind of funny. I think where this movie especially lost me is there's a scene in the very beginning where we're being introduced to one of the main characters, one of the kids in the camp, and it's the acting of it. I was just dumbfounded, because like this kid and like his mom are like kind of talking around the idea that his dad is dead, and you're just sort of like, oh wow, they're just not going to say it, are they? Okay, that's fine. You don't need to. And then finally, like there's a line of dialogue that amounts to like, well, my dad is dead, and like it just sort of like comes out, and it's, I don't know, the acting of it is just so bizarre to me. And I think once we got to the camp, I was like, this isn't going to get any better, and I eventually just turned it off. So
yeah, I mean,
glad I gave myself an hour of my time back.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, like, there's a couple like concepts for the kids I think are kind of amusing. Like, I don't know if you got to the bunny girl yet, where you left off. But, like, her character is, I think, a really funny idea, and I think the actress does a great job with it. But like, they just don't have any idea what to do with her character, and it's a shame, because it's like her character is like in a better movie, like she would be great. Like she'd be the scene stealer. I guess she kind of still is in this, because there's not much to it, but it's just the same. It's a shame, because you can tell with like all the talented people that are involved with this, like there's probably a really funny draft of this movie somewhere that like Disney was just like, this is too weird for us, we can't do this, which is a shame, because I think if someone did this idea but a lot funnier and maybe a little bit more weirder and wilder with it, like I think
like
work,
American Pie presents Magic Camp.
Jeez.
Sorry.
Let's dance away from that one. Yeah,
National
not that. No.
Sorry.
No, I mean, like, I don't know, because like when I was watching this, I'm like, this is kind of like, in some ways, it's almost like a kind of down to earth version of Harry Potter, right? Like this kind of like what if like all these kids are like in the magic and stuff, and
now you see me, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, well, like more than now you don't see me. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's something like that. Like there's an idea here that's really funny, and I think could have worked. I just don't think Disney was interested in making that film, and it shows. All right, well, that is Magic Camp. Low C for Will. A did not finish from John.